Hey, what's up guys? I'm Joey from awesomecameras.com, and this is a new series I'm doing called Old as Dirt. If you know me, you know I like old cameras. The older the better. And I don't just like to put them on a shelf to look pretty, I like to use them. So what I'm going to be doing on this series is finding old cameras, as old as possible, and actually putting film in them and using them and showing you the results. I think most people are surprised when I show them something I shot, a camera that's 100 years old, 80 years old, and show them the photos I got out of it. Pretty much everyone's always surprised. You'd be really surprised how great photos can come out on such an old camera. So this series was inspired by this camera I found at the flea market. I've found a lot of box cameras in my day, and I've actually used quite a few of them. This one actually is the first camera that I've owned that was made before the year 1900. This is the Kodak #2 Bullseye Model D. These cameras were made between 1895 and 1913, but from the information I found, this actual camera was probably made in 1899. So this would be the oldest camera I've ever owned, and definitely the oldest camera I've ever shot with. I think before that, the oldest one was around 1910, 1915. This took a roll of film called Type 101, which they don't make anymore. The negative is 3.5 by 3.5 inches, so it's a square, quite a bit bigger than your 120 negative. It's about 9 centimeters by 9 centimeters. Shutter speed on this, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I think it's around 1/60th of a second. And I do have 3 options for aperture, which I also couldn't find information on, but I'm guessing it's 8, 16, and 22, something like that. That's kind of what I'm basing my film choice off of. The photos I shot in this, I shot Portra 160 just because of the math I did with the shutter speed and the available apertures, and the photos came out pretty great. You can open the camera up, just a little tab here, and then the top actually slides right out. You can see here where the roll of film goes. It goes around here, the film plane, back over here to the take-up spool, and this actually holds the film plane flat there to keep your image nice and flat. And you'll see this here. This is the rotary disc shutter. Goes like that, if you can see here. You can hold it open, and there you go. You can see your aperture rings. 1, 2, 3, just like that. All right, so first what I did was I got a roll of film, put it in the camera, load it up, and I wanted to test out the apertures. So all I did was I took it outside and took the same photo 3 times, one with each aperture setting. So the first one I shot was this. It was a picture of this car across the street from Dexter's camera, where I got the film and where I'm doing my developing. And I just tested it. They all kind of came out pretty much the same. Not too much different, but the middle setting, where what I'm guessing is 16, was the best. It had the best contrast of the 3. So I knew, a bright sunny day was going to look good at that setting. Then I walked down the street a little bit, did another test, another 3 shots of the same thing. This was this old liquor store sign, also just across the street from Dexter's camera. And same thing, the center one, the second one I took, did look the best. The contrast just seemed a little better, and just looked a little better. So yeah, so that's what I based my exposure on for my second roll. All right, so once I loaded up my second roll, I decided to hit the road. I took it out, just drove around town a little bit here in Ventura, and just snapped a few photos. This first one is this old locksmith building. I just thought it was really cool. It had this palm tree coming up behind it. So I shot this one from across the street. The first one here is horizontal, and I wasn't sure if the palm tree was getting cropped out because, it's a big square, where the film plane's a square like this, but the strip of film's only across it like this. So it's 9 centimeters square, but the 120 film's only 7 centimeters wide. So I just wasn't sure if I got that palm tree in the shot or not. So the second shot I did, I turned it sideways and tried to get a vertical shot just to make sure that I had that palm tree completely in the photo. I'm actually pretty pleased with the horizontal one, and now I know I got a pretty wide angle lens on this thing. All right, this next shot is just this gate I saw. I really liked it. I always think it's funny when people put up a gate and there's no fence. Something about that's funny to me. Maybe it's just me, I'm a weirdo. But it was a cool like little wooden gate with a little rock wall next to it. So I wanted to take a photo of that. I also wanted to test how close of a focus you can get with this camera. If you'll notice, the gate's a little blurry, but there's a tree behind it to the left that's actually in really sharp focus. So now I know that gate was probably 10 feet away from me when I shot this photo. And that tree behind it, I mean, that's probably 15 to 20 feet away. So now I know, like, all right, my good focus point's like 15 to 20 feet away, and that's going to be in sharp focus. So next time I take this camera out, I know to put my subject about that far away or further. All right, this is your quintessential Ventura shot across the footbridge going towards the pier. You know, you look out over the 101 freeway, you got the train bridge right there, the California Street exit. Doesn't get much more Ventura than that. I was expecting a little more motion blur in the cars due to the shutter speed on this, but I think you're just not noticing that much. More because the cars aren't going sideways. If I had shot it and the cars were going, you know, this way, I think they would have been more blurry, but the cars are kind of coming at you and going away, so they're not moving laterally so much on the film plane. I think that's why I'm not getting so much motion blur on that shot. All right, this next one, I was getting a little close to the pier. I saw a cool car coming by. We got Ventura Nationals, which is this huge car show in town. So there's just cool cars everywhere all over town. I saw this one coming, and I didn't have any time to think about it. I just had to turn around and snap this photo. And you'll see a little more motion blur on this one, even though that car's probably only going 15 miles an hour because it was stopped, you know, for me to cross the street. And then it was behind a couple other cars, and by the time it got to the crosswalk, I turned around and snapped the photo real quick. You do see a little more motion blur in this one than you do on the freeway. But that's to be expected. Like I said, the shutter speed I'm guessing is around a 60th of a second. And I'd imagine even if it was a 60th when it was brand new, the springs have to wear out. It probably slows down over time. So it could be as slow as a 30th of a second on some of these cameras, but this shutter in this camera does seem pretty tight and it moves pretty quickly. All right, this next shot was the last shot on the roll, and I heard the film actually come off of the spool, so I knew it was the last shot. It's actually kind of cool. It's the shot, I walked out to the pier, and I wanted a good shot just going out the pier, showing the perspective. There was a couple walking away from me holding hands, and so I kind of ran up behind them. It actually looks like I'm really far away from them in the photo, but that must just be the wide angle of this lens. It came out really great, and you'll notice the boards seem warped in the photo, and I think that's just my film was a little warped on the film plane. It just came out really cool. So that's something to keep in mind for my last shot of the roll. Like, I know I'm going to have some weird warpage going on. So it's actually kind of fun. Something to think about for my last shot. I can do something a little weird, get creative with it. All right, so that is the Kodak No. 2 Bullseye Model D, probably from before the year 1900. I'm going with 1899. That's the year, the research I've done showing that year. This, I think, is my new favorite box camera. I will definitely be using this again. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. That was the first episode of Old as Dirt. If you want to see more, if you have any suggestions on what cameras I should use for this series, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Also, tell me what's the oldest camera you've ever used. Have you used something older than this? I want to hear about it. Or just in general, what's the oldest camera you've used? Give me some ideas for future episodes. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing a lot more of this. Thanks for watching. I'm Joey from Awesome Cameras, and this is Old as Dirt. Pretty cool, huh?